This is the second in my series of sunset photos, and this was taken from the exact same spot as last week's photo, about the same time of day also. And you can see a remarkable difference between the two images, and that's largely due to wind or lack of it. In last week's photo, you could see the sky had those brilliant streaks across it that kind of indicated movement and energy and excitement. This one has none of that. But honestly, I think I prefer it. And there's a couple reasons why. And this is not what I was going for. When I went up to the Boundary Waters, I had in mind the photo that I took last week with streaking clouds across the sky. That was the photo that I kind of set out to take. And I got it, and it worked okay. I didn't really want this photo here. And the whole time I was taking it, I was looking at the clouds. And I kept on thinking, oh, man, they're not moving. This is going to be a boring photo. What am I doing here? But I kept at it anyway. I think I made 3 or 4 exposures, each one a little longer than the last. This one here is a 4-minute exposure. And it was almost completely dark when I shot this, but not entirely. Almost completely dark. I had to shoot at, I think it was all the way down at like f16, ISO 200, which is as low as the X100f goes. And what you do, this kind of a side note, to compute exposures, you have to use, to take a long exposure like 4 minutes, you have to use bulb mode. Well, how long do you know to hold the shutter down? What you do is you put it on another, like a timed value. So 30 seconds is the longest exposure value that the camera will compute. So when you put it on 30 seconds, you get your light meter and it shows how underexposed the photo is. So in this case, it said it was underexposed by, I think, 3 stops. So if it's underexposed by 3 stops at 30 seconds, then you have to multiply 30 seconds one time, which would be 1 minute, multiply that minute twice, that's 2 exposure values, and then multiply that 2 minutes again. Now we're at 4 minutes total. So to get a properly exposed photo, I needed 4 minutes based on what it was telling me for a 30-second exposure. It's kind of off in the weeds there, but hopefully that will help you. It helped me to figure that out. The reason I like this compared to last week's photo is because it has this sense of peace and calm about it, and I really like the reflection of the trees in the water. Last week's photo, you couldn't see much in the water because there was this subtle breeze which caused the clouds to move, but then the water was this weird bluish color. Here you can see all the reflections of the trees, almost like a Bob Ross painting, and you can even see the rocks in the water. It gives you an idea of how clear the lakes are up there. So clear, you can see 10, even 15 feet straight down in some of these lakes. It's amazing. Incidentally, the fishing was awesome. We caught, on the left-hand side, that's where we went fishing every day, and we caught tons of smallmouth bass, every one of them like 15 to 20 inches long. It was really cool. And one thing this photo doesn't show is what happened after the photo, which is it started raining at about 11 o'clock at night, and the rain didn't let up until sometime late the next morning, like 11 o'clock the next morning or something, which meant we had to sleep in the rain and then paddle across this lake. This is a 3-mile long lake, and it doesn't look like it because there's like a bend in the trees, but we had to paddle across this lake in our canoes against the wind the next morning as we headed out of the Boundary Waters, and then portage across to another lake and paddle across that lake. So when I look at this photo, it gives me this sense of peace and calm, but it also makes me think of the next day where we had this insane paddle in the canoe, this 3-person canoe. But you know what? It was worth it. It was an outstanding trip. If any of you have been to the Boundary Waters, I would love to see your pictures in the comments or hear any stories you might have to share.